Native Plant Spotlight. The plant that we'll be talking about today is Morel mushroom. It is native to Southwest Virginia and many other places. Here you can see the Morel mushroom scientific name and many of its common names including dryland fish, mollymacher, merkles, and haystacks. A little fun fact about this plant is that there are nearly 70 species of morels in the world. Here's a map of where morels are found. As you can see, most are found in Northeast America, including our home, Southwest Virginia. The identification of this plant is really important because it has a hollow inside and the cap is connected to the base as not to confuse it with others. The flavor profile of this plant is a distinctive nutty flavor with a meaty texture. You must cook the plant thoroughly due to the plant having toxic chemicals. Morels get the name dryland fish because foragers would fish through mushroom growing regions. Native Americans would also use this plant as a vital food and a gift to their elders. Beware that false morels can contain a dangerous chemical that is both a toxin and carcinogen. The morel mushroom has many different lookalikes, so beware when you forage as to not pick the wrong one.
A friendly reminder that it's a good ethic to forage no more than 1/3 of any plant that is available in your area. Some fun facts about morel mushrooms. The morel mushroom is one of the easier wild mushrooms to find due to its honeycomb shape. If you don't cook morels, they can be harmful due to the toxics they have in them. When were you first introduced to morel mushrooms?
I don't ever remember not knowing about morals. I'm 69 years old, and earliest, whenever I remember anything, I knew about morals.
It would have been probably about 15 years ago. I was on a hike and somebody pointed some morels out. I'd never eaten one or harvested one at that point, but shortly thereafter, probably the next year, I began to look for them.
How has your knowledge of this plant changed over time, and who or what influenced your knowledge?
Okay, here's the deal. When I was growing up, my dad and just about everybody I knew loved morels, would hunt for morels. We didn't call them morels, but the thing is, we had no idea it was like a gourmet food. And it was just something that people got in the early spring because they were delicious and people wanted them.
What influenced my knowledge was tasting them for the first time, using them in meals. I've come to learn there are different species, and where you find those, you find a certain one under poplar trees normally, you find a different one under sycamores, for example. And just a little bit more knowledge about the different species and the different locations to find those.
Why do you forage for morels?
I actually don't because I was never good at it. But people did because, again, they were very tasty, they were easy to prepare, and people love them. I have a cousin that used to be able to find bushels of them at a time, so he would share them with the others.
It's considered a delicacy. It's if you like mushrooms at all, you would probably love morels. And I've never been a huge mushroom fan until I encountered these, and it's just something I like. Just kind of a springtime ritual. Let's go out and have at least one meal with morels at the center of it.
Do you call morel mushrooms by any other name?
They're dryland fish. And I did some research on that. And the research, if you look at Google, it says they were called dryland fish because when you slice them open, it resembles the silhouette that you would have of a fish. We called them dryland fish because the way we prepared them the same way that you would an oyster. And if they're prepared in that way, they taste like oysters. So the people in our area referred to them as dryland fish.
Well, I'm familiar with the dryland fish, but I usually just call them morels.
How and where do you forage for morels?
But it depends on what part of the country you live in. Anytime between like March and June, but in our area, basically April. And you want to go, like, if it rains today, then tomorrow is a good time to go hunt the mushrooms. They talk about them like popping up overnight, and some of them will be about like this, but some of them are like big giant ones, and they tend to grow like in clusters. You want to go usually like under trees.
The biggest place that I look is behind my house. I have some property and I have a roadway where I will normally find some in the spring. I also have a secret spot in Jefferson National Forest where I go every year and find a few.
Have you noticed any changes in the availability of morels when you forage?
Not really. It varies from year to year. You'll have a year that's you find a lot, and then you'll find another year you won't find many. And there's one spot in Jefferson National Forest where I look where one year I'll just find a few of the darker ones, and then this past spring I found a nice harvest of the bigger, more yellow mushrooms in that same location.
How do you safely store morels after harvesting them, and how do you prepare them?
Safely, they can be stored. Generally, you want to have them in the refrigerator. Some sources say you can store them for up to 3 or 4 days. Anyone that I knew that really liked dryland fish picked them today, and by the way, you pull them up, you don't like cut them off. And the way to know that it's really a dryland fish and not a poisonous mushroom is it will be hollow all the way up. So you need to check that out. So, in terms of preparing, what we would have done in preparing them is we would have soaked them overnight in the salt water in the refrigerator, and then we would take them out and possibly cut them in half or leave them whole. But we would have breaded them the way you would an oyster, with maybe a little bit of flour, but mostly cornmeal. And you would dredge them in that, meaning, they would be wet, and then you would drag them through or dredge them through the cornmeal with a little bit of salt, and then you would pan fry them. So that would have been the way we did it. Now, if you watch, again, the Food Network, you'll see all kinds of things they do with them.
As far as storing them, I know you can dry them. I've never done that. I will typically just put them in the refrigerator for a few days until I'm ready to use them. And the way I prepare them is I will just cut them up, I'll rinse them, and I'll either roll them in batter or I'll saute them in butter and use them just like you would other mushrooms.
What do you think are the main challenges of identifying morels compared to toxic lookalikes when you forage for them?
I will be honest with you, until I Googled this week, I never knew there was another mushroom that looked like a morel or a dryland fish, because growing up, you knew what they looked like, and so there was no real question, and we also knew where they were going to grow, and putting that together. But what I did find out is there is a mushroom that is deadly poisonous that looks very similar to a morel, but again, if you pull it up, the morel is going to be hollow all the way up, thus the bugs and the creepy crawlies that like to live in there. But if you get the poisonous one, it's going to, how most mushrooms have a kind of a woody stalk to them? That's what the poisonous one is going to look like. So that's kind of how you. And growing up in the mountains, they taught us all, if it's a berry and it's got a crown on it like a blueberry, it's safe to eat. If it doesn't, take your chances.
Well, the nice thing about morels is there is a toxic look-alike, but it's not deadly toxic, and it comes up a different time of the year. So around here, if you're looking in the spring and you find something that looks like a morel, it's probably going to be a morel.
What is one of your favorite experiences or a favorite story you have about your time hunting morels?
Oh, that would have to be my dad going hunting with Billy, because Daddy was pathetic, and Billy, it was as if he was the Pied Piper of dryland fish or something. You send Billy out into the woods, and he's gonna come back with a big sack of them. And so Daddy thought, that the trick was to go hunting with Billy. It didn't work. Billy would come back with the sack. Daddy would come back with 3 or 4. Billy would feel sorry for him and give him some, and then Mom would prepare them, or Mom would volunteer to fix them for Billy too. And that would happen.
The first time I actually went morel hunting was it was in Pikeville, Kentucky. It was on Easter Sunday one afternoon, and I walked out a logging road, and I was looking hard for them. I knew the habitat was perfect for them, so I walked out about 100 yards, didn't see anything, and when I turned around and came back that same road, I harvested about a pound. And I think it was just the way the sunlight was hitting that I couldn't see them at all going one direction, but the other way I did.
What is the flavor profile of morels?
Okay, being breaded like that, if you have, again, southern, and we did it with the cornmeal, if you think oysters, if you think fried okra. If you go into those, and it's going to have a kind of a woodsy, kind of earthy, again, sorry for those of you who hate Food Network, but umami, that kind of flavor. I'm kidding. But the thing is it's got that real earthy kind of flavor to it.
Do you notice a difference in flavors between different varieties of morels?
I don't have a real sensitive palate, so somebody who's more attuned to different tastings probably could tell a difference. But the size wise is what's appealing. You get more meat from the ones that you find under sycamores, the big yellow ones, but I can't detect a huge flavor difference.
Hello, my name is David Goodman, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank Union High School for allowing us to do this project, the community members who came in for interviews, my students, Wesley Hall, Alex Lee, Gabe Hurley, and Talon Adams, for developing and implementing this project, and more specifically for the Virginia Humanities, who provided the grant funding that allowed this project to be possible.